This is Rumour Control. Here are the facts. The Last Voyage of the Demeter still does not have a release date in the UK. It is still held up in distribution limbo with the impacts of the sale of E1 to Lionsgate. So, there are no legal ways of seeing The Last Voyage of the Demeter in the UK. But another fact is this: Kilt-Man vowed that by fair means or foul, he would still see it, without getting a plane to America or chartering a schooner across the storm-tossed seas. No, he did what he said he'd do. He found a dodgy stream of it. Well, folks, I am not condoning this at all. But, as I said a few times now, if you guys, you suits, you execs who don't really care about art, you only care about money, and you can deny an eager, willing, and totally starving gothic horror audience of a movie they've been salivating for a good couple of years now. Yes, years. It was made 2 years ago. And it's been sitting on the shelf and waiting to be released. It's been held up back and forth. Universal in America gave it one of the world's worst actual distribution releases ever. It played in about 3 cinemas in the US. No, it's a slight exaggeration. It played in 1 cinema in Texas. No. This has had a very troubled production and, well, not production, but release schedule. And Universal in America, Universal, who pretty much, dominated horror, the gothic horror genre itself. Todd Browning's 1931 Bela Lugosi Dracula. They set the ball rolling on this fanged extravaganza. But they don't seem to care about this movie at all. They let it languish on the shelf for a couple of years, then release date, then postponement, then another release date, then postponed again, then all this debacle in the UK. So, anyway, they don't seem to care about it, but I do care about these things. And if you will deny me the chance to see it and pay my money properly to see it in a theatre, as you guys in America call it, but a cinema in this country, a cinema, the flicks, as we call it, then I will seek it out by other means. I'm not proud of it, but at least I'm admitting it. And I saw a version of this film which is complete. I've had this verified. I've spoken at length about this film to other people just before doing this video, so I know my stuff. And it was plagued by, well, occasional pop-ups of gambling slot machines and stuff like that. But the subtitles were correct. The colour timing was okay. It was clear enough and detailed enough to see what was going on. And there was no muffled sound bits, and no one's heads were getting in the way, bobbing up and down, selling Kiora. No, there were no intermissions. It was the film. And and I watched it. And I will now give a spoiler review for it. So, I'm going to let you know now, folks, if you're in the UK, or wherever, if you haven't seen the film, this is spoilers. I'm going to give spoilers. So obviously, if you don't want to hear these things, but in the UK, I've got no idea when you're going to legitimately get hold of a copy of this movie on Blu-ray or UHD, or stream it, or see it theatrically. I don't know. It might not even happen. Don't know. Just don't know. So, but I've seen it, and after bigging this film up for a long, long time, and really hoping and praying that it would deliver the gothic frisson, the chills of that chapter from Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Demeter, which transports Dracula and in his coffin, in his casket, and all the other crates of earth from Varna to Whitby, but he's come down from Transylvania, the Carpathians, his gypsies have booked him on and all that, and he's chartered all the way to Blighty. And of course, all the crew get picked off one by one. Dracula's nightly rations and the almost deserted schooner crash lands during a tempest on the beaches of Whitby. And The captain is lashed to the wheel, frozen in rictus fear. And of course, Dracula, in the form of a huge wolf, leaps off the vessel and then causes chaos in the aristocracy of high society of Victoriana. And it's told as all of Bram Stoker's Dracula novel is told, in the form of journals, notes, letters, and it's told in that kind of way from the captain's log, the ship's log, basically. Now, in other movies, it's been alluded to, it's been mentioned. You might see the vessel crashed on the shores of Whitby. You might have a montage of things that happened aboard the ship. Or if you're Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat, you will dedicate one entire episode of your 3-part disastrous BBC reiteration for the woke crowd of Dracula. Now, I'll be honest, I was intrigued by their first episode and the twists and turns, and I love the gore in it as well. And then they devoted an entire middle episode to the Demeter story and called it Blood Vessel, which I thought was a fantastically great, shrewd, clever idea. Blood Vessel, awesome. And it was action-packed, it was gory, and it had lots of elements to it, and I quite enjoyed its kind of Agatha Christie style storytelling. Then they colossally fucked the whole thing up really badly. They massively rear-ended it and shafted it with episode 3, which was a diabolical travesty, which I did do a very drunken rant about. Do seek it out. I don't return to that. I don't watch my stuff anyway, but because I don't want to see this. You guys have got to put up with this. I live inside this. I don't want to see it. But yeah, I gave a really, really lambasting, full throttle, all barrels, all guns together, massive assault upon that insult of an episode. So now we get this. It's a bit of a lengthy, waffly introduction, isn't it? We get this by Andre, I forget this guy's name, Andre Ovredal, who did Troll Hunter, The Autopsy of Jane Doe, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and all that. And a great director. I like his stuff. And yeah. Anyway, I watched it. I'm not gonna go scene by scene with this as I would. I made enormous amounts of notes. I had the luxury of being able to sit and watch it and pause it and make notes. I will refer to some of these little entries that I made in my own review journal and diary. And folks, I'm going to say right now that I applaud any horror film that gets made and gets out there. Horror is my favourite genre of all time, and you guys know it. Look at the channel, look at the videos. It swarms with horror, blood, carnage and chaos and kilts. By the way, I'm wearing the MacLeod from the Clan MacLeod. Connor MacLeod, Highlander. I love this genre, and I love the gothic genre. I love hammer horror. I love universal horror. The old creaky classics. They are my favourites by far. The atmosphere, the brooding sense of dread, the darkness, the hinted at depravity, and the innovative monster and creature makeup effects that are in those fledgling movies. It shaped an entire genre, and I still love them. And I have as I say, any horror film that gets made and gets out there, by fair means or foul, I will applaud it. Of course I will. Some of you already know where I'm going with this. And yeah, you ain't going to be happy, but it's the way it goes, folks. Opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one. And the fact that this is sort of, it was trying to re-energise, reinvigorate, resurrect the gothic horror genre. That, Andre Ovredal, I totally and utterly applaud you for doing that. And I will say right now, this film looks amazing. Yes, even though I watched it on the big screen as well, which kind of, all the flaws of compression were massively exemplified. I then watched it on a smaller device as well. So I have seen it, well, once all the way through, and then a couple of times just to reinforce thoughts that I had about it. And that was the beauty of doing this, I suppose. But But again, I'm not condoning that kind of behaviour. But if you're forced into it, what else can you do? The film looks ravishing. The photography is by a guy called, where is it now? Tom Stern. And it is brilliant. The cinematography is ravishing for such a gloomy, dark, very shadow-laden movie. And the ship that he built, the Demeter, is incredible. It's one of the high points, but also one of the low points of the movie. But folks, yeah, I was gravely disappointed with this movie. You could say, yeah, well, Kilt-Man, for God's sake, you bigged the film up. You were setting yourself up for a fall, weren't you? No, not really. I've been down this road so many times. Halloween kills, Halloween ends. And they're just the tip of the iceberg. But I've been down this road so many times. I build films up and I can be disappointed. But I do appreciate the film that's before me. And I look at it inside and out. I try to work out what they meant to do with this scene, what could have been better, why certain scenes don't work, why characters flail about, why the script is abysmal, what errors have been made. And it's not the gospel, it's just my opinion. But having spent an absolute lifetime, and I'm 54 years old, you know. Oh yes, I'm a crusty old fart now. And a fat fart I got caught last night as well, in the pub, by a trusted friend who hadn't seen me for a while. I went, "You're looking fat." Well, that was a bit of a fucking bombshell, that. After being Captain Fitness and working out every day. But since I stopped working, I have become a bit of a lounge lizard. A creature of home comforts. And this stuff. I always was with this stuff, but you know. Cheers, y'all. I'm going to get there, folks. To be honest with you, all this preamble is probably going to be more interesting than what I'm going to say about the movie itself. So, there you go. I pretty much summed it up there. But yeah, fat! You're looking fat. Fuck! I said, fuck you! And I fucking meant it as well. I was like, deeply mortified. Anyway, yeah, you could say that my disappointment is because I watched it in not the best environment. It wasn't the best of presentations, and I bigged it up too much for my own personal, excitement and anticipation. I loved the first 25 minutes of this. The shipments of the gypsies with the Castle Dracula in the background nestled there, just intriguingly, tantalisingly there. And they've got all these caskets and they take them down to the port of Varna, and they secure shipment on the Demeter. The Demeter has a fledgling crew, so they go and recruit more people, including Corey Hawkins as the ship's doctor. Clemens! He's the star of the show, is this guy. He's in almost every fucking scene. And but they're all, I'll say right now, they're all good actors. They all perform very, very well. I believed all of them. There's a great plus point there. So they recruit some more people. The gypsies then, we're not going to put this stuff on board because we know what's in there. And they've got some other guy that they enlisted, but he sees the dragon crest on Dracula's box of earth, and he's like, I'm not doing that. And his shock, he sees, and lets the winch give way, and one of these crates is going to come down and crush young Toby. Young Toby, played by Woody Norman, who was about 10, 11 years old. A little scrote, the cabin boy ship's scrote, but he's the grandson of the ship's captain, the Demeter's captain, Captain Elliot, played by a great genre fave, Liam Cunningham, who is great in this as well. And that's his grandson. But Clemens, who, even though he's educated, and he's been to Cambridge, I think it was, and as a black man during this particular period, he got his qualifications, he fought against adversity and prejudice, but he couldn't get a job anywhere. And they do talk about this, and that is not woke. I don't agree that that's woke, so I'm happy with that. It's not like, being inclusive for the sake of, appeasing the woke brigade. No, I kind of quite like that. And he's a good actor, so I don't mind that in the least. And it gives him some backstory. But he's no, we don't want a learned man. You just want to go back to England. Most people don't want to. Most people can't wait to leave England, I think the guy says. And but he sees this winch giving way and leaps and saves Toby, the grandson. So obviously the captain, oh, you're a good man. Right, welcome aboard. You're one of the crew. You're ship's doctor now. That's it. And Captain Elliot also tells his first mate, who is, his name's Vychak, which I thought was quite cunning because I don't know the guy's real name. It's a big freaky foreign name. And the guy that composed the score for Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Francis Ford Coppola version, was a great composer called Vychak Kilar. You have to work out and learn how to pronounce that name, that first name, because the way it's written with W's and J's, it doesn't make any sense. Well, this character's name is Vychak, spelt the same way. So, that's a nice little link there. So, anyway, the captain says to him, look, this is my last journey. The captain is an Englishman. He said, I want to retire. After this, I'm going to retire. I'm going to go to Ireland. I think I'm going to take Toby there, show him the greenery and the land for once. Why the hell the grandson's with the granddad? What happened to the parents? If they do say, I don't remember. But anyway, that's the setup. So he says, but I want you to take over command. So Vychak, the first mate, is quite a sort of pivotal character throughout the movie. But anyway, so they set sail. This guy said, I'm not working with these. This guy let go of the winch. He's seen the Dracula crest. I know what that is. And he gives him, I thought it was a bag of crucifixes that he gives them. It was a bag of coins. So I don't kind of get that. And it's like, good luck to you. You'll need it. Because obviously he's been sacked from the job. So off he goes, I think with the gypsies and all that. And they watch the Demeter set sail. Good luck. God be with you and all this kind of shit. And the ship set sail. And pretty much first night, things are going wrong. People you're on watch and you hear a noise and you're seeing some. What's that about? Yeah, well, look, I'm not going to go scene by scene. It just can't be arsed. Dracula's on the prowl and he's going to start picking off the crew one by one, night after night. Yeah, there you go. And he's in one of these caskets. Right. The ship is like Hogwarts at sea. It is fucking huge. No schooner is the size of this thing. Once you go below decks, it is a warren, a labyrinth of corridors and corridors behind and beneath other corridors and decks and what? You've created a battlefield at sea. This is your location, and with all the people are trapped on board this. You've made it the Nakatomi Plaza. That's what you've done. I get that. And I was massively intrigued by just how maze-like this place is. And they have a system of knocking on wood, dum, dum, dum. And then someone that, dum, dum, dum. And then somewhere else, dum, dum, dum. And they really ram this home, which will play havoc with a certain scene later, a sequence which I wanted to tear my eyeballs out because, God, it just drove me mad. So people are getting picked off. Those of you expecting a lot of gore because of the hard R rating it got in the States, trust me, if it ever gets released in the UK, it'll be a certificate 15. It's hard R. There's throat ripping. Stephen King, don't listen to Stephen King. Don't ever listen to Stephen King. Jesus Christ, talks a lot of shit. Writes a lot of shit these days as well. The first guy, the goriest scene in the movie is the first killing, where a throat is visibly ripped out and blood gushing, and you see it a lot, and the guy's still alive, and he looks up and he sees the bat-like rodent version of Dracula. And a bit akin to what you see over there and what you see behind me here. And and that is the goriest bit. The rest of it, don't go expecting gore. There's bits and bites, but that's it. It's nothing massively savage. There's no real carnage to speak of. I know we all have differing standards, but This film has been bigged up as being gory and brutal. There's some violence, but it's not. It's certainly, I wouldn't put this down as being a gory movie at all. Cheers, y'all. And they begin to question, obviously, you've got to meet the crew, which has been nice. At a round table sort of thing, where you get introduced to everybody. And it's not as hackneyed as that could have been done. It kind of works, and you get Clemens' view on the world. I'm not have to change the world. I want to learn what makes the world tick. So there'll be something better. I'm getting the line wrong, but I kind of bought into it. I like his character. I did like his character at first. And then once things start going awry, fingers start pointing at people. Well, where were you? What were you doing? And like, oh, you just come on board, and it could be bad luck. They will find a girl, a stowaway, in one of the boxes, in one of the crates of air. They find Anna. They're always called Anna for some reason, and she's played by Aileen. Hang on, where is it now? Aileen Franciosi. I don't know who she is, but she's Anna. And we learn that she was from the village in the shadow of the castle of Dracula, and he held our villagers in his thrall for generations. And he's here on board, and she tells them what's going on. And well, why are you here? She was food for Dracula on his trip. The villagers gave her to Dracula in some kind of offering, just leave us alone, take her. It's not really elaborated upon, and it is to the detriment of the movie. It doesn't make a lot of sense because Dracula in the book, quite clearly in every other version, he's going to use the crew as his food along for the journey, and he would be greedy. He's timing it just right so he can get to the shores of Whitby and get off. Having his fill of that scarlet fluid, the nectar of his undead life. And but she's been given to him, and she's obviously spent a fair bit of time being chowed down on him. When you first meet her, she's almost comatose and has bite wounds all over her. And all the livestock on board the ship, all the goats and all that is being slain the first night, and they've all been gnawed about. Toby's dog, Toby's Labrador, Huckleberry, or Huck, as they call it, gets slain. So dog lovers, animal lovers, to be honest, it ain't that bad. I don't like scenes of dogs getting hurt, and I was like, getting really angry when the scene was coming up early on, and but you don't see it. You see the dog's body though, you do see that. And there's a touching scene of having to push the body overboard because they think there could be, and they get rid of all the other livestock, the dead stock now, because it could be rabies, so or other kind of diseases exist as well. Got to get shut of it all. So they're on meagre rations now as well. Oh, it's just going from bad to worse, isn't it? And but it's a touching scene. Toby's on the other side of the deck, and Clemens is the one. He's like, I know what this means to you, and but gotta go. Bye bye, Hook. And then he'll go and sit in one of these bizarre Nostromo huge corridors below decks. Nostromo, that's an important point now. Alien. And he'll sit with him and he'll say, look, bad things happen in life. We can't always, hope to change things. And the little kid, Toby's going I promised the captain, I promised, Grandpa, that my one job was to look after Hook, and I failed in that. He said, no, and I liked that. It was a touching, if slightly cliched moment, but I liked it. I'm liking these characters, that's fine. But they got Anna and the rest of the crew, and there aren't many. You're talking about 5 people tops on this, really. And a woman on board's bad luck, and she's a stowaway. Let's throw her overboard. That's what they're going to do. And I think, quite thankfully, there's no sort of sexual current with this undercurrent. Not going to be, raped by the crew. And there's none of that sort of thing. There's no real romance angle to it either, which that's a relief. That's another good point, because that would have been too hackneyed as well. So, but Anna has multiple blood transfusions, And you don't really see a great deal of these, to be honest. And, you know, you see the getting some tubes and a needle and they're about to push it into her skin. I can't remember whose blood she's getting, but, you know, it must be a combination of who's doing all who's giving the blood to her. And again, in Hammer movies, they do all these blood transfusions. No one ever thinks to check the blood types. You know, you fucking cross-contaminate someone's blood. Whoops-a-daisy. Anyway, other people are taken. And they do it as well, quite clearly. Is that what that girl's saying about he's on board? Who he? We call him Dracula. And there's another name. The villagers called him whatever. And but we knew him as Dracula. And she's got one of those really bizarre Eastern European accents. Everything is really overspoken and a huge dialect creeps into every syllable. But I don't know. She could be from that neck of the woods and it could be genuine. I don't know. But it sounds cod, you know. So anyway, right, let's search the ship. So they keep doing this. They keep searching the ship. This is where the film falls down. They keep getting the storms. There's fog everywhere, and and there's meager rations, and they're all getting a bit paranoid. And the ship keeps on ploughing through the seas. You're going round through the Aegean, into the Mediterranean and all that. Anyway, but it becomes very repetitive. Someone dies that night. They search the boat the next day. They fucking found her in one of the crates. Why don't they open all the crates? Bram Stoker wrote about this. They spent a couple of days going through all the crates. In the film, this only comes later on. Right, we're going to search all the crates then. What's the fucking first thing you do? For Christ's sake. Anyway, you get... Oh, right, look. The sequence which I knew this weren't working for me, and would find it hard to redeem itself, was the Toby hunting sequence. Yeah, the kids in jeopardy. Liam Cunningham, who's been great. He's a very understated he underplays characters in everything he does, and I like that about him. It's reliable, it's consistent, and it's believable. And this is the guy. This is my final voyage before I retire. And he does say, because they're going to throw the girl overboard, and he says, look, this is my last. I've just told you this is my last voyage. I don't want it marred by the fact that we killed a young woman, which is I thought was quite a good line. Other people have been killed, and they found bodies with fucking throats ripped up and all that. And one of the guys, I forgot his name now. He's been quite interesting throughout the movie to this point. He's been butchered and slain, but he's not dead though. Sorry, he's not slain. He's not dead. But they bring him below decks, and but they strap him down because he's having fits and all that. Yeah, you know, he's infected. He's going to become vampire. And anyway, so it's getting night time, and the captain says to Toby, do you want to do something useful? You want to polish this? No. It's no kind of euphemism. Do you want to polish this? He gets his brass telescope, polish that, and I think they're going to start checking the ship anyway. A nightly hunt, and he said he chucks the cabin. He said, lock the door and don't leave. Well, of course they're all up top, and they're all checking everywhere. They're going up and down the masts and all this fucking caper, and check the boxes which were brought on board, where other people are going and crossing themselves. Check those fucking boxes. Oh, you found the girl. Toby hears something. Puts the telescope down. Oh, what was the one rule? Don't open the door. Goes out and gets pursued by the guy that's become vampirized, who is... Have you ever seen the film, a classic zombie movie, The Living Dead at the Manchester Morgue? You have a zombie in that called... It's not filmed in Manchester at all. There's a bit in London, but it's filmed in the Peak District, I should say, the Peak District. And I've reviewed the film and talked about it a lot on the channel. And you have Guthrie the Loon, who's a vagrant who's become a zombie. and he's got dishevelled hair and scrappy bit and blazing, devilish black eyes, red ringed, and he's great. He's one of the most terrifying zombies in movies. Well, this guy, when he gets reanimated, he becomes vampirized. It looks like, reminded me of him, the way he's shambling and his long dark hair and his blazing eyes. Pursues Toby for a good fucking 15 minutes of wasted screen time. Toby will run away, get caught, strip out of his jacket, and our boy's left with, comes after him, and he'll lock himself in the captain's room again. And this vampirized dude will start bashing his head against the door. Boom, boom, boom. What was I saying about knocking on wood? Which they do. They've done it so with monotonous regularity. All our boys are on top. And we've already proved that knock, knock, knock. Someone responds, knock, knock, knock. Or whatever, till everything's okay, yeah. And if it's like, you want to call someone, fucking drum it, and everyone will come running. Or ring the ship's bell. There's an idea for you. They do that at one point, but anyway, bang, 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 butting his head against this fucking door. And he's splitting his skull open and all that, and the poor kid's terrified and cowering in corners in the shadows of the biggest captain's cabin you've ever seen. This is luxury. This fucking ship is luxury, I'm telling you. And he smashes a hole through the door, and he's trying to reach in and open the door and all this, and he can't quite do it. But these guys take forever and a day to hear bang, 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 bang. You hear that? Bang, 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 bang. Don't we normally have a routine when we hear bang, bang, bang? Don't we replay? Fucking, what are you doing? And do you know what? They're armed, they've got weapons, they've got guns. And do you know what gun they've got? You're not going to believe this, folks. I didn't. I was like, oh, you're kidding me. No, it wasn't a Magnum 44. Cheers, y'all. It was one of my favourite weapons from the Victorian period. And I did a video on it only a few videos ago. I'm going to show you. They've actually got the Martini Henry. Yes, mine's still got the tape around the forestock, but they've got these. And you put the bullet into the breech, and you load it up, and they've all got them. And I must say, that's another great point, because it's conceivable that he would have had these. These weapons were around 1897, which is the year this story set in. They would have had these very possibly on board. So I'm happy with that, and I'm also dead pleased to see them in use outside of a Zulu movie. And so they all come down, and they manage to wrestle this bastard back, but they can't open the door. Didn't the captain? Hasn't he got the fucking key to the door anyway? So it's his fucking cabin, and they can't open the damn door. So in the meantime, this scene goes on forever. Toby's cowering, and who's up above him? Oh yeah, remember Dracula? He's on board as well. So Dracula comes down, drags him up, think Brett in Alien. Harry Dean Stanton being dragged up into the air ducts and all that. And he gets chomped and then dropped, and all that. But they can't open the fucking door. So Anna, the girl, the stowaway, she was actually food for Dracula. His packed lunch. She picks up one of these, move aside, and blows the fucking lock out of the door so they can charge in. Oh, folks, that scene drove me up the wall. It was crap and very badly handled, very badly scripted, and a ruinous sequence. And I just sat back and to its credit, well, what happens next? Obviously, this guy who's been vampirized, they know they can't trust him, and they tie him to the mast, and they tie him to the mast. Ships are made of wood. Yeah, right. Anna, who knows vampires, or doesn't, she knows fuck all about vampires. She's brought up in a village in the lee of Castle Dracula, and all her parents and all her neighbours all knew about vampires, and they gave her to him. So she's lived with a vampire as well. She knows vampires. She can tell them fuck all about how to deal with them. Tell them nothing. Nothing. And this guy's like tied to the mast. And they're all like, what do we do with him? What the hell do we do with him? But the sun comes up. Well, don't worry about it, lads. He'll be flambéed. And he is. And we see him CG. The effects in this are great. I'll talk about the effects later. But the CG was a little bit obvious. Well, very obvious, in fact. But, he's all crinkly and flames and he's screaming, because he says, I quite like this, because he still thinks he's got some kind of plague. Clemens, Corey Hawkins, still thinks that, no, I don't believe in superstition. I believe in science. You get that hoary old argument again, and he will contradict himself at some point, but I don't know if I made a note of that, and I'll probably forget to say it, but it doesn't fit right now. But he's, I'm a man of science. I believe in this. There's a reason for things. There's some kind of plague. It's blood. He's been infected. So, but this guy starts going like burning, and he goes, "Well, you want? Oh, you want water? Water? Get him water. Get him burning. What you mean? What? The sun's coming up, and it suddenly, and you stand there and watch for ages as he burns. May I remind you, crew and captain, your ship is made of wood. He is tied to the main mast. He's on fire. Now, I know, as well as a lot of you naval aficionados, that the wooden ships had I forgot what it is now, but they would put a coating on the wood so it would stop it from being massively flammable, but it wouldn't stand up to someone who's completely ablaze, a pure inferno. Keanu Reeves from Bram Stoker's Dracula there. Bloody wolves chasing me through some blue inferno. Yeah, that fucking ridiculous acne, that accent. And this guy got fucking acne when he goes up, his skin all blisters. But it's been ages, before putting the flames out. The ship would have gone up by that. It's just stupid. It's stupid, folks. But you got Toby. Toby's been bit, and Toby dies. And it's you're hearing Bear McCreary's score for The Last Voyage of the Demeter right now. I've done a big review of this score before I'd even seen the film, and I loved it, and I still do. Very somber, very dark, very brooding, very melancholy. Fits the film perfectly well. Not much in the way of excitement. So, but Toby will die, and they wrap him up in the ship sails, and cloth, and all that, and they're going to shove his body over, and it's a very sad occasion. And Captain Elliot, Liam Cunningham, is like, no, he's not dead. He moved. And like, no, you'd be being emotional. Just, it's got to go. He's died. No, he moved. And folks, this is massively, stupidly signposted. So he rips open the bag, and suddenly, in a very Salem's Lot style Danny Glick, moment, the kid opens his eyes, and they're just eggshells, just pure white eyes. And then, but the sun's come up, so the kid erupts into flames, but grabs Liam Cunningham's face and burns his face. And Liam Cunningham gets his hands and his arms, and his face burns. But they throw the body over, and you see him underwater, drifting down, turning round. And I thought, well, you've just saved him from, he's a vampire now, and you've just saved him from the sunlight. So he's going to survive down there. At least that's what would be the case. It says, would be the case. It's not real. Or is it? And, but I would have had that, but he's not dead. You've actually saved that vampire. So, anyway. And this is, intriguingly, that's exactly what they did with the Mark Gatiss, Stephen Moffat version, because Dracula at the end of that does end up underwater and then lives on for another 100 odd years. No, a bit more than that, because I think he ends up in sort of like a near future, Whitby, and then London and all that. I won't go into any further into that travesty. But so now it's like, right, it's a last stand. We've got to stop this bastard, And so they arm themselves with their guns. They put a couple of guys on the crow's nest, Only then did they realise, it's only now, maybe he's in one of those boxes. Oh, do you fucking think so? No shit, Sherlock. You found a fucking girl in one of them. What about that one with the strange big dragon's crest on it? For the fucking hell. Now, folks, if you've seen the film, maybe you can educate me on this. How the hell does Dracula get out of his fucking crate? Because when Clemens and Anna sort of work this thing out, it's like, oh, it's some fucking evil, horrible clockwork contraption. You turn this, then that bolt goes. It's like the, not a Rubik Cube, it's like the lament configuration from Hellraiser. A certain combination, and three things begin to work, and bolts and levers pull back. That's from the outside. How the fuck does he get out from the inside? I don't know. I don't see how he did it. I may have missed something, I'll be honest, I may have missed something. But either way, they should have checked these crates and just broke them all open. People are dying left, right and centre. Don't worry about your fucking shipments of goods. Fuck all that. And the fucking girls told you. All these crates came from Castle Dracula en route to, Carfax Abbey via Whitby. Well, they're not meant to arrive at Whitby, they're meant to arrive in London, but it's storms and things, Cheers, on. So anyway, they find their way into it, and they find that Dracula and all this horrible earth and maggots, which we call it a cesspit, he calls it bed. And he's got his cane, his silver wolf-headed cane. And here's my magnificent replica, courtesy of our good friend, you know him, you love him, Steve 007 Smith, who sent me this years ago. Got it made in America, and it is genuine silver. But it's from the Wolfman. But Dracula has one of these as well. Good on you, Drac. You've got some good taste there, sir. And, oh, that might fall over now. Now I've bigged it up, it'll probably fall over. So they find that. There's one guy, I think he's the ship's cook, who's slightly oriental looking fella. And there's a bit of stereotyping for you there. He's the ship's cook. Chinese again, hey? More noodle soup. And shark fin soup. No. And he's fucked off. He's took one of the rowing boats. He's fucked off. But Dracula, who is like this thing here, he's a bat creature. Everyone says about this, all the people who've detracted from this movie that I'd read reviews of, all of which there were thousands I read, and people messaging me as well, they were not happy about the fact that Dracula, you don't see him as a human. Well, I've got news for you folks. For the first half of the fucking movie, he appears more like Nosferatu. It's a very human, pallid face, baldy, pointy ears. Only later on does he become this fucking bat creature with unfailing these huge wings and start flying about, swooping down through the air, the clouds and the fog. And he goes after this bastard who's, I'm out of here, fuck that, And then, what was that? Turns around, big bat creatures on the back of the boat. He gets taken out. And they will find that, they'll come across that, the wreckage of that incident. But this final last stand, they have a couple of guys up on the crow's nest with the Martini Henry rifle. And this was botched completely. The idea is they're going to scupper the ship. They're going to draw him out, and they're going to use, I think Anna's going to be bait, or one of them's going to be bait. The two snipers are going to try and take him out in mid-air or whatever. And the captain himself, who has just threatened to commit suicide, and Clemens talks him out of it. Don't do it. Would Toby want that? Think about what Toby would want. I don't know. And but they say, well, we're almost at England, but got no food left and storms and we can't control the ship or whatever the hell I fucking say. And the captain says, well, look, tell you what then, I won't kill myself, but what we'll do, try and take him out, try and cripple him, and then you guys get out on the the lifeboat, another fucking rowing boat, and I'll steer the ship out to sea and then set fire to it. They've already threatened to do this, and one of the guys, it's Vychek, the one I said who's the first mate, who, after being really good at the start, has become a bit of a twat throughout the rest of the movie. He refuses. They're going to start axing up the ship and like putting holes in it and sink the bastard to try and kill Dracula. And he's like, no, this ship is my home. I kind of like this, actually. I thought this was quite touching and believable. No, I've lived at this. And like Clemens is going like, well, a ship is just wood and nails. It's not life. Corey Hawkins is an American actor. He was in The Walking Dead and other stuff like. But he does do a great sort of Cockney accent, which I thought was pretty much, on the money. So again, all the performances I think are great. But he stops him from like, axing the ship. I won't do this. This ship's my home. Anyway, so this plan goes tits up anyway. This was crap. You got two guys on the crow's nest with Martini Henry rifles and a big bat monster swooping around, and it goes nowhere. One gets knocked off and his hand's hanging there and then gets fucking ripped up, but really boringly. And the other guy takes a tumble and falls through the fucking deck and snaps his leg up and all that, and then gets chowed down on. But it is not exciting. It's just like, really, this is your big finale. Anyway, so what happens is the bat monster, the Dracula, will grab hold of Clemens and he'll pick him up like that, pure Darth Vader Rebel Commander style. Where are the plans? And he's like, but the man of science is going like, I'm not afraid of you. And people have complained about Dracula not speaking. He does speak. You hear his voice in some people's minds a couple of times in the movie, and he fucking well speaks here. I'm not afraid of you. And Dracula just goes, and he just goes, oh, what? He goes, you will be. Oh, fuck off. It's it's hackneyed, it's cliched, it's real old rusty fucking barnacles of a script. You will be. Oh, fuck off. Anyway, well, he won't be because Anna manages to unleash. What does she do? Has she got an axe? Or does she shoot? She manages to unleash part of the fucking rigging, and a great big chunk of wood goes. Chunk of wood, you say? Chunk of wood? You're thinking steak, and it rams down, and you think it impales Dracula. Not quite, and but in the meantime, should have mentioned this. One thing that really, really irked me throughout the movie is that there's only one point you see someone steering the ship. There's a crew of, at the start, about 7 people, I think, tops, and a dog, and a stowaway, and a vampire, But, and I think Clemens takes a turn on the wheel, and then he lashes the wheel. I lost count of the amount of count again. I love to count. 1 time they lashed the wheel. 2 times they lashed the wheel. 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 times they lashed the wheel. So the ship is steering itself. There's no one steering the ship. Not clever, not good, and used. Did no one at the scripting stage go like, hang on, we've done this about 15 times now, and there's one of them, the big nodule nipples you grab hold of on the steering wheel, and oh yes, we might be the steering wheel, and they lash this, and it just keeps on cut. Fuck off. No, didn't happen like that. Didn't, and it's stupid and overplayed, and it happens all the time. So suddenly, at the last minute, the captain lashes himself to the wheel. Now that is what you want, because that is what Stoker wrote. That is one of the pivotal, most iconic images in horror. The captain lashed to the wheel as it crashes onto the beaches of Whitby. A haunting, terrifying image of a man frozen to death with fear. But, no. What's his name again? Andrei Ovredal and his scriptwriters, Bragi Schutt, And I joked last time that you shouldn't mispronounce that. But having watched the film now, Bragi shit, and Zach Okowitz, however you pronounce it, wrote this from a story by Bragi shit. And they have Captain Elliot lashes himself to the wheel. Dracula, bat form, approaches him all like... This film also has that awful, from the 90s onward, cliche of monsters, especially CG ones, or CG embellished ones, going right to you, right into the camera. And I really thought this film wouldn't do that. But they really do. They do it about 3 or 4 times. It does it here as well. And our captain comes out with a little crucifix like that, which does nothing. No, crucifixes from Bram Stoker do work. They do work. So, and it isn't 2 crossed candlesticks. You know, because I did joke in my big review for Hammer's 1958 Dracula, or Horror of Dracula if you prefer. You know, if anything that resembles a cross, then Dracula couldn't go anywhere. You know, the fucking window panes, he couldn't do anything. You know, we're surrounded by crossed imagery everywhere he went. You look around where you are right now, you'll see a million crosses there. You read any text, tease, put a big cross on them. And X's or crosses just pivoted. So, but a proper crucifix, you're meant to have faith in it. Well, he is a man of faith. He's already said so, and he's got a crucifix there. And Dracula just fucking knocks it aside, and then has a bit of a nibble on his neck. And then he's like, but he's not quite dead. And Clemens will... This is the thing that pissed me off as well. He is lashed to the wheel. He's always been lashed to the wheel. Clemens undoes or cuts the ropes, so he slumps down beside the ship's wheel. So he's not even lashed to it anymore. What the fuck are you playing at? What the fucking hell are you doing? You're messing with the actual lore of these things. So anyway, you've had the final confrontation. Oh dear God, the final conflict with the beast, the Count himself. Masked. Clemens and Anna get away. They leap overboard onto some wreckage. And it's pure Jack and Rose from Titanic. And I thought this was pretty naff as well. And they begin to float away. And is the ship on fire? I can't remember now. Doesn't really fucking matter. Well, no, it's not on fire because it does fucking crash land on the... Oh yeah, the masts come down and they're on part of the rigging. Oh, that's it. Sorry folks, that's it. I'm trying to remember now. Doesn't fucking matter. And but Dracula just goes... He's not dead. Unfurl those wings. Right. Because you've passed the White Cliffs of Dover, by the way, and Whitby's just there. So the ship's heading that way. And they're heading... Well, they can see land, but sun's coming up. And yeah, of course. Oh, the big poignant conclusion. Anna is just like, no, you go to England. He's like, well, England's just there. You know, we can make it. No, you make it because I can't. What do you mean? What do you mean? No. I've known all along, she says. But we could do one more transfusion. No. And you've got, her self-sacrifice as the sun rises. And you've got a Viking, funeral taking place. And to be honest, the CG on her flambeing and barbecue is actually pretty naff because it's just it's so fake. There's no agony on her face whatsoever, and it just the other guys were screaming their heads off and all that, like, so not good. Anyway, it's not over yet. Sadly, it's lucky that the film does end after the next bit because this was the bit that had it been in a cinema, I would have stormed out and literally stormed out in fury and disgust. But it was the end of the movie. So I wouldn't have looked stupid anyway. Cheers, y'all. We cut to London. Old London town. And there's Clemens, a bit dapperized now. And he asks the barmaid, I don't know why the hell she'd know, directions to Carfax Abbey. because he knows that all this stuff was heading to Carfax Abbey. So, and he's got like the jail, like the ship's log, or whatever. Oh no, I should have said at the start of the movie, the ship, you see the ship crashing into Whitby, and police and locals get down there, and one guy comes back and he's terrified. You know, there's no one on board, but he's obviously seen the captain there. The captain who should be lashed to the wheel, but actually isn't. But he's got the captain's log, and he's like, so that's how they beat the jail. But I think Clemens must have something from the ship's charter and all the stuff that's on board, its itinerary, and so he knows about Carfax Abbey. So he asked the barmaid, directions to Carfax Abbey, and she's like, I don't know what kind of accent I was going to give her there. I don't know, sir. I've got no fucking idea. Apples and pears. I don't fucking know. Anyway, he said, well, why, do you own the place? No, but I want to meet the guy that does. Oh, all right, well, okay. So have a drink anyway. So he sits down. Remember the boom, boom, boom tapping? And remember the wolf-headed cane? Oh, fuck me. This is just... I remember the guy who was headbutting, the door. Well, after what this scene made me headbutt the fucking wall. It is such shite, crap, tactless, stupid. Let's set up for a sequel, which really can't possibly exist. Fucking stupidity. He hears boom, boom, boom on the wooden floorboards of the tavern, and he's like, "This is Clemens," and he's like looking round, and we see just down the way there's someone with a top hat, tails on, and this going on the deck, and Clemens is watching, and this sinister face turns round, who's still quite clearly a very Nosferatu-like person. He hasn't done what Dracula said, where, he's grown younger. The man had grown younger. And he can blend in with people, because he doesn't look like a fucking bat rodent monster. But this guy turns around he's got fucking pointy ears sticking out beside his top hat, and he's got fucking big teeth on him, and he's got one of these, and he's going, and he turns around, half turns, and smiles at Clemens. He's already ripped up Clemens' throat slightly. He's with a long finger, go whoosh, like that on his throat. Whoosh. So he's got a slash, almost like a Zorro slash on his throat. And then as Clemens realises, so the shadow goes past him and brushes the cut on his throat, and he legs it out. Of course, the Count has gone into the crowds and the mist and the night of old London town, and but then you get, oh God, Clemens, Corey Hawkins does this fucking horrible voiceover. I've encountered evil. I've fought evil. I've learned what evil is. I'm making this up, but it's along these lines, and he's walking towards us, and it's his thought process. I will dedicate my life to vanquishing this evil, this blight. I will hunt him down, forever. Setting up a sequel, because the film ends there. Setting up a sequel, which we know can't possibly exist. Why? Because Stoker didn't write it, so you'd be massively delving into the realms of just pure and utter your own adulteration. It's allowed. It's in the public domain. You can make whatever version you want. But the film has been a massive, massive disaster financially. It's flopped. It's barely been shown, and it's received critically mauled. And this is what I'm coming on to now, folks. You've heard my opinion now, and I will obviously reinforce this. I thought the film was incredibly boring, very bland, and really eye-rollingly stupid in many places. The cinematography is great, the acting is great, and it seems bizarre. How can that be with such a shit film? But it is. It's the case. And cinematography is great. The ship is fantastic, but it's implausible. There's so much to this ship that you can't. These things aren't that fucking big. If you're tappity tap, you hear that everywhere. It's just, that's your code. They ignored it. When the fucking head's bashing, continuing against the fucking door. Oh dear God. You could get lost in that ship. They've clearly tried to make it the Nostromo. Labyrinthine corridors, a vast maze-like battlefield, a haunted house. And I'm okay with that. but keep to the confines of what a ship would really be like. If you're going to build this thing and make it painstakingly detailed and realistic and authentic, which they have, it does look splendid, but don't give it all these weird ductways and corridors and hidden passageways. It's not a castle at sea. If that was your idea, it's not a castle at sea. The cinematography is great. The ship is great. People have said like, "Oh, you don't like it because it's a slow burn." It's not a slow burn movie. You get a great introduction to all the characters, which I really enjoyed. The first 25 minutes really got me, and I thought this is going to be great. I'm going to care about all of you guys. All the kills were boring, really, really boring. No excitement, no suspense. You know, oh my god, the shadow turn around. There it is. You've seen it a million times. None of these jump scares actually work at all. Not one. Not fucking one of them. The traps and all the plans are just repetitive and really badly, ineptly handled. Suspense is zero. Gothic atmosphere is there. It's a gothic movie, yeah, and that's definitely applaud that. People said it's very Hammer-like. It's not in the least bit Hammer-like. I'm a massive aficionado of Hammer movies. This reminded me absolutely zero diddly squat of Hammer and Hammer's style. And that's not a bad thing, you know. Hammer made a lot of crap movies as well, you know. But if you try to evoke Hammer, well, in a modern film evoking Hammer, look at Sleepy Hollow. Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow is exactly that. Look at Tim Burton's Batman movies. They're more Hammer-esque than this movie. But I'm not holding that against it because that's what people have said. God, what's his name again? Andre Ovredal's direction is lackluster and it's banal. The film, as I say, slow moving, I don't think it is. I think it's a lot of incident, a lot of stuff takes place, but all those incidents are diminished by really insipid direction. It did not inform me at all. Dracula himself is A, not in it enough, B, Billy Bland. He's almost out for the count. Oh my god, he swoops around. No, fuck off. You've seen swooping Draculas in bat form in Van Helsing, and I'll be honest, as naff as Van Helsing is, this is the Hugh Jackman version. But I still love the film, but it's a shit film. It's shit. But that Dracula was more intimidating than this Dracula. The sort of invading the minds and using a bit of telepathy does not come across well at all, which is part of what the script's meant to be about, that he does invade their dreams and he's playing havoc with them, because Dracula's planning the whole thing out. He's got to keep some of these people alive to feed me later on. I can't let them escape and need them. But Dracula's not fazed by a cross. He does fly across running water. The sea. Bram Stoker set up this thing about vampires not being able to cross running water, which is actually more the werewolf myth, but Bram Stoker nicked things from all folklore, mythology and superstitions to create his Count Dracula, his vampire mythology of his own. A lot of it's complete and utter hooey, but all pilfered from elsewhere. But in Stoker stuff, he can't cross running water. And but lo and behold, he can fucking fly across it though and get that guy in the rowing boat. So it actually contradicts itself. And oh god, that line that Clemens comes out with. He said earlier on that I'm a man of science. I believe everything has a reason. I don't believe in the supernatural. But he says something later on, which is like, look, we know this thing can move and it can do things that no one. I'm making this up. He says something that promotes Dracula's supernatural abilities, and then says like, but we can find a way to stop it. So I don't believe any of this, but he still says this thing is supernatural, but we'll find a scientific way because I don't believe in a super. But he's just fucking. I know I'm not really illustrated that very well, have I? But he does do it, and I was like, oh my god. Let's have a look at what little notes I made. Oh, burning body allowed to burn for far too long on a wooden ship. Stupid sequence of Toby pursued. Everybody topside can't hear the trouble and the head banging for far too long. Again, far too long. They take ages to get to that door, and the girl just blasts it open. Why didn't they think of doing that? Exactly. They've got the guns. She takes a gun off them, and she does it. Fucking armed with guns. And the captain's got a fucking key as well, you know. I've written here, check the crates. For Christ's sake, check the crates. She was in one of them. Multiple exclamation marks. Wheel left tied off all the time until the iconic tie yourself to it, you know. Which then they undo, literally undo by cutting the ropes. Fucking, what? That's just stupid. There's no excuse for that. The reason why he's, according to Anna, the reason why he's left Transylvania to go to England is because there's no one left to feed on in the village. So he's going to, I mean, maybe she wouldn't be privy to, like, you know, the real estate deal that he's just done to buy Carfax Abbey, you know, via Jonathan Harker. Yeah, she wouldn't know about that necessarily, but, you know, there's no one left to feed on. Well, who the fuck gave you to him? There's people there, there's other, it's a fucking stupid reason. So no one left to feed on in the village, thus London arose, ha ha ha, and a big question mark. Wolfhead Kane, I do not fear you. You will. Fuck off. There is a rather pathetic and rather obvious line from Captain Elliot with a doomed crew on a doomed ship. What have we done there? Drax stands there. I don't know. Drax stands there. Well, Dracula does just stand there a lot. Just, you know, there's not enough of Dracula to see him in his form. By the way, the guy that did it, Göran Lundstrom, the guy that designed Dracula, it's an image we've seen before. It's Nosferatu. It's a bat. It's this behind me here, a bat-like creature. He does evolve slightly throughout the movie, but I read a huge interview with this guy who did the creature effects, and what an annoying twat he turned out to be. Who told you nothing yet spoke for hours. Hi! Maybe me and him are twins. Peace from the same pod. I read a huge interview with him where he gave nothing away, and but he kept on saying things. What was it now? It's kind of, and like. That's Scouse. Everything's, well, like I said to him, like, did you like go down the road, like, and did you go like. It's every other word is like. He does that, and he says it's kind of. Without giving anything, it's kind of like what? He doesn't say what it's kind of like at all. Fucking knobhead. But the bits of Dracula that we see, which isn't much, I thought he looked okay. Not brilliant, but looked okay. Didn't mind it at all. The CG is not too bad. But the burning effect, certainly on Anna, was fucking awful. That was god awful. And the setup for the sequel is just, you are taking the piss. You really think you're going to get a sequel out of this? Fucking, I applaud the fact you made this movie. You had a belief in this movie. Although this movie was being touted for many years beforehand under different writers. And yeah, so I know this is not exactly all your idea. And of course, it's no one's idea other than Bram Stoker's. He created it. But the film is boring. And just, there's no suspense. The kills are lackluster. Really lackluster. Dracula, to be honest with you, I kept forgetting about Dracula being part of this bloody story. You could say that's because, the crew are that interesting. Well, the crew did start off being interesting, and they do deliver their lines and, you know, hit their marks, and they are believable in their roles. But halfway through the movie, it's not selling it anymore. You're doing your best, but the film itself is falling into disarray all around you. Rats deserting a sinking ship. And there's a whole thing about rats. The rats are very quiet. And we do see the rats, like, sort of like, oh my god. It's almost like they've stumbled into Hangar 18, Area 51, and there's the Ark of the Covenant there. And the rats are like, oh, don't want to go near it. Well, that's nice, but it's not elaborated on. How does he get out of that fucking crate? And then get back into it again? Does he go underneath? Does he nibble through the deck beneath and then come out and then go back in that way? Maybe he does. Maybe he does. Maybe I fucking missed it. But with the elaborate mechanism to open that crate, you can't do that from the inside. It's just fucking stupid. No, folks. I'm afraid the last voyage of the Demeter, sunk itself. It had lofty ambitions. It was a noble endeavour. It was a voyage I really wanted to take, and I had my ticket for it. In fact, here is my ticket for it. Courtesy of our good friend on the Emerald Isle, Captain Ronnie. Look, it's my ticket to ride on the Demeter. Yeah. Schooner from Varna to Whitby. It's all signed, sealed, delivered. So I've got my ticket there. I think I'll take this with me. So, folks, this is a film I'd long been looking forward to, and I do frequent a lot of horror forums. I've got an insane amount of people that I talk to all the time, a lot of friends who are like-minded, and many of whom have seen the movie in legitimate circumstances in cinemas in America, and a few people that have seen a ropey copy like I did, and I do appear to be one of the few out of the people that I genuinely know who didn't like it. Now, again, if you love the film, I wish I did. I am not detracting from anyone's enjoyment of this movie. If you love it, then oh god, great. And if it gets a sequel, I'm not massively enamoured by that idea. But if it got a sequel, at least it's another gothic horror movie. I would fear the way that it would be done. I think that would go very horribly woke, genuinely. I hate bringing that word up and that terminology, because this film doesn't really do that at all. There's only a couple of moments where you get, In fact, they actually combat it quite well with the backstory of Clemens. But that ending shot, I will stalk him, I will find him, I will destroy this evil, this blight, make it my life's quest. And the way he's walking towards the camera, and it's a black man in Victorian London. Yes, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's the way it's done. And it looked, I thought, oh, if that ever did go further on with him, inevitably they're gonna bring in a lot of, wokey anachronisms. Folks, I'm sorry to even bring that up. I really wish but that conclusion, that little finale, that little sequel bait, really put me in mind of that, and I thought, don't do it. It's very cheap to try to do that sort of thing, no matter who the character was, to set up a sequel when it's not in the mythology. In the timeline, I don't think it would work. But I suppose they're thinking, well, there could be a day or two where our hero from this movie could go and pursue Dracula through the streets of London, and it could have yes, there could be, and it could have. I mean, there's me. I made it sound quite exciting, then, actually. Maybe it could work. Shit. Maybe I'll write it. I'll do my own version of it. No. This has been a brief stab at bringing gothic horror back. Universal fucked up with their Monsterverse completely. Absolutely shoddy. But Universal have got, like Disney, they're not even a shadow of their former selves. They are lampooning themselves. If they're going to shit on a film like this, sit on it and then shit on it like they have done, and then allow it to lapse into this distribution fucking limbo, That shows absolute lack of faith. And Disney, of course, is the worst studio on the planet, and their continual destruction of their own properties beggars belief. But anyway, folks, The Last Voyage of the Demeter. This was a much longer review than I thought, and I kind of did go through it bit by bit, didn't I? The score is great. I like the score. There's a lot of plus points to it, and I hope I managed to bring that balance across. But the stupid elements really annoy me. And folks, you've got to understand why I get so annoyed. I love this genre, and I can forgive a lot. The old Universals and the Hammer movies and many other movies, I can forgive a lot of bullshit. I'll call it out, but if the rest of the film really manages to rise above it, then you take it on board. See a lot of nautical expressions here. And I'm still there, and I'm still going to champion it. When a film which I've longed for, looked forward to, and had such great potential, looks great, it's acted great, but still makes absolutely shoddy errors in the vampire mythology, and commits the unpardonable sin of being boring. Well, with the best will in the world, I can't stand beside it, and I can't just go, oh, no, it's a bit of fun. There's a few scares there. Well, there's no scares there, and it wasn't much fun at all. So I can't do it, and I so want to, and I wish I had a different story to tell here. I wish there was a different reaction. These films mean a lot to me. So to actually be denouncing one of my favourite types of movies ever really doesn't come easily and does not sit well with me. And I'm not happy. Not happy, folks. Oh, but you should have watched it in the cinema. Oh, but I wish I fucking had. I can't imagine my opinion would be that different. It wouldn't be different. I'd only be saying even more about the cinematography and the sound mix, sound design, and the look of the Demeter. By the way, they filmed a lot of this. They filmed a lot of it in Berlin, and then a lot of it in Malta. I've been to Malta a couple of times. I talked about Malta only recently. What was that about? I can't remember now. I mentioned Malta recently as well. The capital, Valletta, stinks. Open sewers into the sea. Ooh, not good. Not good. Really, really reeks. But Malta's been used a lot in movies. Midnight Express, the big prison that's there, that's a fort on Malta, which they filmed Midnight Express in. Gladiator, a lot of that was filmed there. And what else? Write it down. Oh yeah, it's King's Landing, of course, from Game of Thrones. And they filmed around Malta. There's a lot of seaborne stuff and some of the ports that you see. You don't see a great deal, but that's Malta. Cheers, Malta. There you go. That was the main theme to The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Folks, I have been over Shabby Kilt-Man. So please, in the meantime, in this ever, gothic resurgence and sadly sinkage, mournful violins come in now. Please keep it Celtic, keep it Celtic. Vampire bat! I winged it. I hope you guys get a chance to see it in the UK. I really do. I mean, I know my experience with it isn't the best, and the film isn't the best, but I still think it should be go and see it at the flicks and then buy it on UHD. Here's the irony. You know I'm gonna fucking get it on UHD as well. You know I am. It's got to go on the shelf with all the other smorgasbord of vampire movies. The amount of films I've bought which I was like, oh god, that was shit. But I've still bought them anyway. And we're all like that. We're all like that. You watching this channel, you're exactly the same. So, anyway, Dracula. Dead and loving it. I'm going to see you all. Oh yeah, it's meant to be like Alien. They were, oh, it's just Alien at sea and all that. You've actually got a guy called Clement, a doctor called Clemens. You've got Charles Dance, who's also in Game of Thrones, played the Dr. Clemens in Alien 3. You've also got a dog wandering around and then in the early scenes gets taken down like you have in Alien 3. So it is Alien at sea, but also Alien 3. There's a rhyme there somewhere.